Have you ever been one guide before online? I'm sure you have. I was recently one guide, and this video is not really about being, one guide so much as it is about critique. Why does everyone have a boner for critique? I really got to thinking about this. The idea of destruction versus building versus, admiring. Oh, if you're watching this for the first time, my name is Marco. I love talking about video game music and games, and I was an opera singer for 14 years. And the thing is, in my time in the opera world, the critique was constant and it wasn't constructive most of the time. In fact, it often ended up being destructive. And by that I mean, I'd go into a practice room or I'd go into a coaching and you would sing a phrase and be like, nope, that's not right. You need to do this, 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 this. Nope, your vowels are not right. Nope, you need to do this. Nope, no, no. Oh. And you have this like sort of nonstop sort of cut, clean, cut, clean, cut, clean until it's perfect. Over time, what I've discovered is I find critique on the whole incredibly boring. It's not to say that constructive criticism doesn't have merit or a purpose or a time with which it should be given, but constructive criticism and feedback is so different from critique. I think we live in a time where we have to be like with our checklist, and we have to be doom, 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 doom. This isn't good. This isn't good. This isn't good. This could be better. This could be improved. This is this. And I don't know if it's like a global problem beyond the scope of gaming, but I certainly see it in discourse across the board in gaming. There's criteria, and if those criteria are not met, then therefore the game is immediately thrown out or, whatever. And I find this sentiment very fascinating because it's very hard to gain chances if you have a bad go of it the first round. Like if something, if you have like a shit ton of server queues, and so there's this really tough, you don't get into the game right away. Someone heads over to Steam and is like, well, the server queue is negative, and it's like, it's very interesting because I find that the constructivity is very difficult for people. I had an amazing comment was, I feel like you're kind of losing yourself to try to placate the algorithm or something. And then that person came back and said, with these particular shorts, I feel like we're still getting a glimpse of who you are. And it's amazing to know that you're still that person, even though your content's shifted. That's wonderful, because the first one actually stuck with me. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I make sure that I'm staying authentic and consistent to my identity as a person? Not necessarily how I'm being perceived, because I have no control over that, but how do I make sure that I'm staying, fluid? Or if a person's like, hey, Marco, this is great. It's not even about fluffing it up with like a compliment before, but it's like, fundamentally the tone is great. You sound good. Let's make sure that we're not dipping in pitch here. So let's work on ensuring this, and this, rather than you suck. This is not good. You need to fix this because it's bad. There's a difference. I personally, and I've invited musicians to come here and listen to music with me, as maybe some of you have seen. Sometimes they're a little bit neutral, or sometimes they're not harsh. Interestingly enough, when they are harsh, we really don't like that. If they're too nice, we also really don't like that. We'd like a little bit of like difficult. We don't want it to be too much on either side, right? But I think it's interesting how some of the people I've had come on, they're like, I don't really like to critique, because it's very easy to shit on something or reduce it or break it down into its parts and but it's like the point is that like we should be allowed to enjoy. And enjoying things is also having a strong statement about them. Enjoying things unabashedly so, without this, that, and the other to weigh you down. Just having a good time. That is also a statement. You don't have to rock the boat in order to enjoy what you enjoy. And I think it's interesting that the only time that we perceive authenticity is usually when there's critique involved. From a creator perspective, it's like if you enjoy something, then you're clearly sponsored or you're paid. And I know this is like stupid. This is stupid, but I do think it's interesting. I do think it's interesting that the idea that like enjoying something is not a strong enough statement. I like this. Nier has the greatest soundtrack I've ever heard. Bloodborne has the greatest soundtrack in gaming. That's not it can't possibly be. That's not a critique. A critique is much more meaningful. Is it? I think it's interesting. I think critique is an interesting conversation. What does critique even mean? Is my content too praiseworthy? No, I've gotten into trouble with the Genshin Impact community. I get in trouble for saying I don't like Persona 5's music. On my Patreon live streams on Friday, when folks present me with music and they want to share music that they find interesting, I will let them know if I like it or don't like it or if it's fine or whatever. And then I try to explain why, because I find it interesting to be like, okay, well, I don't really like this. I don't really like this. I don't really like this, but I love this. I love this. I love this, right? There's a way, I think, that we need to reclaim what criticism and critique is. And sometimes it's just simply not needed. I was having a conversation with the guys over at Grinding Gear, and we're talking about Clear Obscure. I was like, I feel weird because here we are talking about the game. It's just good. We can talk about the intricacies of things, or, you know, maybe what we could have liked better, right? But like in general, the game is just positive. It's funny to just praise something because it's almost like praising is a radical act. Just enjoying stuff, you know, and if you don't have a strong opinion about why it's not good, something's wrong with you. I feel like everything right now is so like this or that, or, you know, you don't have enough to say about it. It's like, well, it's okay to like stuff. You don't always have to be critical about it. Just enjoy it. And if you don't like it, don't engage with it. I don't know. Bye.